Welcome back to another Silicon Dojo question and answer session. So basically with these sessions, what I do is I look through the comment stream, I look for the questions that you folks ask me, and I try to find the ones that I think are interesting to answer. So if you have a question that you want me to answer, put a question down in the comment section. I do these videos more or less every day, and so I will most likely get to it if you put it down there. So this is an interesting question here, and it's an interesting question because it's actually a topic I've been talking about a lot lately. Basically, the psychological manipulation of Silicon Valley and how a lot of people that think that they are winning are actually getting screwed. Can I say screwed? Screwed family friendly. I do believe screwed is family friendly, so I'll say they're getting screwed. But it's one of those very interesting things where if you can phrase things in a certain way, if you can present something in a certain way, people see it as a reward, not as a punishment, which is I find absolutely hilarious. It's kind of like with, again, with millennials. Again, I'm not trying to beat up on millennials. I'm never trying to beat up on millennials because millennials, they do a good enough job of beating up on themselves. But one of the things I find most interesting in the modern world is this whole idea of open offices. Right? Everybody wants freedom. Everybody wants collisions. Isn't it great that we have open offices? Now what I find funny is when I started in the corporate world, we had something called cube farms. And cube farms we considered to be horrible. Now here's the thing with cube farms, right? When you take a look at a cube actually gives you a decent amount of space. It's like 6 feet by 6 feet square. You got a little wall on it. You got a desk there. You got some place to store stuff. Now again, I would never want to go back to a cube farm, but if you look at a cube farm, it really doesn't seem nearly as horrible as the really super cool open offices that they now currently have. Like literally, think about it. So we would have like a 6-foot desk probably. You'd have about 6 feet of desk in a cube, plus you got all this other area. You got your little drawers. Basically you have an office without the full walls that go to the ceiling. What's kind of curious now is millennials feel like they're winning for having open offices. Where, oh my golly, bosses now shove somewhere between 2 to 3 people in the same physical space they used to put one person. When we had one person sitting in a cube farm, we all realized that this was misery and this was horrible. But somehow, when you pack millennials all together in these open offices, that's cool and sexy and modern. Again, one of the things I find really interesting, because I've been looking at trying to rent another space for Silicon Dojo, a little bit bigger. But one of the curious things nowadays is how so many offices have made employees think that these cement floors are super sexy cool. Look at us, we have an industrial aesthetic. They say aesthetic. And when you walk in, they'll have like the bare cement floors. Well, here's the thing. Bare cement floors are great for the employer because carpeting actually costs a decent amount of money. It's anywhere between $1 to $5 per square foot to install. And so, if you got a 2,000 square feet of office space and you don't install any carpet, you save a crap ton of money. So if you can convince the young people that, we're like on that industrial spectrum. We want you to know how cool we are because we don't have things like carpet. Right? All the kids are like, yay, we don't have carpet. We're all cool. We're all hipster. Yeah, the problem is why I want carpet. I actually don't have carpet in here. I wish I had carpet in here, but I can't really change this one. Anyways, why whenever I rent my new space, I want to have carpet is because carpet does a little thing called a deadening noise. So when people speak in a carpeted environment, the noise level goes down quite significantly, especially if you put some cubes in there too. You can't hear people talking, on the other side of the office. But the thing is now, everybody thinks that's cool and neat and sexy, so they don't want carpet because carpet's owed. And so now basically the owners of the company save a crap ton of money because they don't have to buy carpet. It is obnoxious as hell for employees to deal with the environment, but everybody thinks that they're winning. Again, think about this for a second. When I was young, nobody wore noise-canceling headphones in the office. I just want you to think about this for a second. I'm just going to put this on the table. Put this on the table and slide it across to you. You decide what you want. When I was young in the enterprise world, nobody wore headphones. Wearing headphones in the office was a no-no. No-no. Right, we had headphones. We did. We had the little earbuds. We had all that. We didn't have the super cool AirPods the modern kids do, but we had headphones and all that. And you didn't wear them in the office environment because you weren't losing your mind with all of the noise in the office environment because we had cubes. We had carpeting. Think about this. I go into so many of these open offices where there's supposed to be collisions and all this other stuff, and everybody has these like noise canceling headphones suction cupped to their heads. It's like, oh, that's a warning sign there. So anyways, this is a really big problem in the modern world of technology professionals, is basically technology professionals have been sold a load of crap, to be frank with you, but they've been sold it in such a way that they think the load of crap is really cool. It's you know, my pet rock. Somebody's been selling them my pet crap. Little pieces of cow poop with googly eyes on it. Get yours now! So this is something to be thinking about when you get into the technology world, when you get into the professional world. What you should be thinking about is what psychological manipulation is occurring, basically to change your behavior or position you in a position that is more amenable to the employer. Again, one of the things people hate about me is that I say bosses are human. You know, if you want to get ahead in your career, treat your boss like an actual human, but they are actually humans, and humans can be kind of a-holes sometimes, right? You can be nice to a boss and also realize that they might be an a-hole all at the same time. This is not a zero-sum thing. Like somebody can be a human and kind of be an a-hole. So this is something that you need to be thinking about. So where this person comes up talking about the whole thing with the door. Oh, actually, I didn't even ask the question. I got onto my own little things. I didn't even say what the question is. Anyways, so this person recalled your story about interrogating the suspects and facing them away from a door. From the receiving end, I found this crucial and necessary to repel, literally find a door, as to avoid all uncomfortable negotiations. In either a corporate startup setting, do you notice other conditioning examples like this, be it in roles or dialogue? Thanks. So basically, what this person is talking about is my whole saying is always know where the door is. So way back when I was doing that emergency services, paramilitary, whatever crap, one of the things I went through interview and interrogation training. And I thought it was very interesting, at least the interrogation component, because the thing is we did not have the authority to shoot people in the leg. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like anytime you see like interrogation in the movies or the TV shows, somebody pulls out a weapon and just starts chopping bits off the person being interrogated. I'm not really sure how well that works in the real world, but for me, that was completely and utterly illegal. You're not allowed to kneecap the person you're interrogating. Anyway, so we're sitting there and we're talking about all this kind of stuff, and so one of the questions that I asked is like, well, if we can't actually physically hurt the person, if we actually, in a lot of circumstances, don't have a hell of a lot of authority, honestly, how do you actually do an interrogation? And the curious answer from our instructor was basically what you do is you trick the person being interrogated into a psychological mindset that essentially is similar to if you actually did have the ability to kneecap them. What the hell was that? I don't know, I'm a little worried right now. Apparently a whole condo fell over in Miami. I don't want my little office to fall over. Anyways, I don't know if you heard that. So anyway, so we're saying they're talking to the instructor about this, and so basically one of the things that the instructor was saying is that you want to put whoever you're interrogating into a fight or flight response without actually being able to pull a weapon on them. So one of the things you do is you get like really close to them. So you get really close to them, because that's the thing is, especially in America, we have a 3-foot comfort barrier, and so if you get really close to them, it makes them incredibly uncomfortable. So basically, I'm not gonna, but well, anyway, so you get here, you kind of move up, you keep moving your chair, you know, until your knee is like 1 inch away from their knee. Now, the important thing to understand is you cannot touch them. If you touch them, that is assault. I'm not gonna touch you, I'm not gonna touch you, I'm not gonna touch you. But as long as you don't touch them, it's not assault. So you get about 1 inch. You get 1 inch to make sure you're not actually touching them. And then here's the thing, here's the cute thing. If they touch you, that is assault too. Whoever touches the other person is assault. Then schnizzle gets nasty real damn quick. But anyways, that's another story. So what you do is you get really close to them. And then the other thing is you position their chair so that the door is directly behind them. So again, in an interrogation scenario, if you don't actually have a lot of authority and you can't kneecap somebody, legally you cannot falsely arrest somebody. Right? So if you close the door and they feel that they're under arrest, that if they leave, that they'll be somehow physically restrained, that's false arrest, you can get into a lot of trouble. So what you do is you have the door wide open. Anytime they want to walk out that door, they can stand up, as long as they don't touch you, and they can walk the hell out the door. So what you do is you open the door, but then you set up the situation so you put their chair right in front of the door, right? So basically when they're sitting down and they're looking at you, the door is out of their peripheral vision. And so as far as their lizard brain is concerned, the door doesn't exist. So basically what you do is you get really close to them, you put them into the fight or flight mindset. They don't feel that they can fight, because if they fight, that will be assault. So that would be bad. They can't do flight because their brain doesn't actually see the door that's wide open behind them. And all of a sudden, it is amazing what people will admit to doing, even without kneecapping the bastards. Anyways, it's a very curious thing. And so that's one of the things that I always tell people, right, is always make sure you know where the door is. One of the biggest problems that I see with people in the modern world is they work themselves into these fight or flight responses that they don't need to be in, and then they start reacting asininely stupid, right? So one of the things that I always say is always make sure you know where the door is. Hey, look, if I'm frustrating you, if I'm pissing you off, there is the door. Go walk around the block. Go home for the night and come back, right? Like if you feel like you're stuck here, then you've got to react to me. If you know the door is there, you just go walk around the corner, you get a coffee, you relax a little bit, you come back, everything's kind of okay. All right, so again, one of the big things to understand, like when you learn something about like interrogation, one of the interesting things about learning applied psychology is not only how to purposely put people into situations, but then also to understand how to try to de-escalate situations when things have accidentally wandered into a bad realm. And again, that's where I always say, always make sure you know where the door is. Hey, look, you're getting a little frustrated, you're getting a little angry, the door is right there. Why don't you go take a walk around the block? Or tell you what, you're frustrated, I'll go take a walk around the block, right? Because I don't want to put you into a fight or flight response. So you know what? I'm gonna give you a couple of blocks worth of space. I'm gonna go get a cup of coffee, and when I come back, then we can have a conversation. All right? But it's very interesting how you can manipulate people psychologically to do things against their better judgment. Again, you can literally get people to admit to things that they will go to jail for, that you don't necessarily have you do not have an ounce of proof against the person. But if you put them in the right position, they'll just sing, as they say. So one of the things you need to be thinking about in the technology world is do realize that these technology companies are actually very good at psychology, especially all of these platforms that have been created in Silicon Valley. They have been doing applied psychology for 10 to 15 years now, and do realize that your employers are more than happy to manipulate the hell out of all of their users to the detriment of society. Again, whatever side of the political equation you are at this point, I don't think anybody thinks that social media right now is a good thing for society. They are willing to destroy, to shred our social bonds for profit using applied psychology. And guess what, boys and girls? If your boss is willing to shred their society, and they're willing to shred you. The exact same psychological tools that they're using on their user base to create doom scrolling and all the other crap that we're seeing, you can use the same types of psychological methodology in the corporate world. So one of the big things I talk about is a real red flag as far as psychology is concerned for your own health is basically when you go into a startup or when you go into a technology company and they have a beer tap on hand, right? So again, kids think this is cool. When you're 22 and your CEO pours you a pint, that seems awesome. But think about what this actually means. Right? So if I have a company like Silicon Dojo, hopefully at some point I'll be able to get employees, and one of the things with Silicon Dojo is there will not be any alcohol. There will not be any alcohol at Silicon Dojo events, there will not be any alcohol at the Silicon Dojo, the facility, and there will not be any alcohol in anything considered adjacent to this. If everybody wants to get together on a Saturday, way far from Silicon Dojo and have a couple of drinks and do something stupid, that is their business. That is their free time, has nothing to do with Silicon Dojo. One of the big reasons is because there's a lot of liability. I don't understand the Silicon Valley world. Again, there's massive liability. I mean, again, there's literally a lot of stuff just written into law. If you serve minors, you're illegally liable for it. If you serve somebody that then gets into a car accident and they are under the influence, you are liable for it. And that's even before you get into sexual harassment and every other, gosh darn thing that can happen when we have people having alcohol. So one of the questions that you have to ask yourself is when you walk in and you see that quote unquote really cool beer tap, what does that mean? You know what that really means? That means that the startup, the CEO or whatever, doesn't want you to leave the premises to drink alcohol. Now think about this for a second. Again, I've worked long days. I've done 30-day months and the whole 9 yards. You get done with a 10 or 12 hour a day, and then you go down to the bar with a couple of people at work. But you get done with 10 or 12 hours. You're still expected to stay at work and drink alcohol. Does that seem like a healthy thing to you? And again, why would they put themselves into the liability concern if it wasn't for, again, trying to manipulate the employees to get employees to always work? You are never leaving work. The same thing is with free food. It's interesting. I just read the biography or whatever, the book, Super Pumped about Uber. And Uber, for a long time, they would offer free meals. And then dinner that they would offer would be at 8:30 at night. One of the things that Travis realized is that for some reason geeks really like free stuff. I don't understand why. You can pay a geek $250,000 a year. They will still run after like free Pabst. Oh my golly, they got free Pabst over here. It's like, great. I'm gonna go buy some decent beer. Anyways, it's something about how the geek mentality works. You give them something for free. Oh my golly, Pabst! They're giving away free peanut butter and jelly sandwiches over here. Okay, good. I'm gonna go buy me a steak. Mentalities. But the interesting thing with Travis is what they did is they didn't serve dinner. They didn't give that free dinner till 8:30 at night. Because what they realized is that people would generally leave after they ate their free dinner. They would stay till they got the free dinner, and then they would leave afterwards. So if they offered free dinner at 6:30 at night, people would stay till 6:30, eat the dinner, leave about 7. If they served dinner at 8:30 at night, just psychologically, people want the free. And so they would stay till 8:30 at night, and then they would get all the more work out of them. Again, things to be thinking about, like when Google offers on-site childcare, on-site free childcare. Doesn't that sound great? Doesn't that sound wonderful? But think about this. If you're the employee for Google with on-site free childcare, well, that means if you feel like you have to come in early in the morning for Google and you got free on-site childcare, then as you go in, you drop the kid off. You don't have to worry about the hours for childcare. You don't have to worry about additional fees or anything else. If you have to come in at 7 o'clock in the morning, if you feel like you should, then you can just come in and drop the kid off. If you feel like you have to come in at 6:30 in the morning, you can just come in and drop the kid off, right? You don't have to worry about the childcare facility being open. The same is true on the other side, right? If it's 6 o'clock at night, so most childcare, they want the kids gone at 6 o'clock. If the kid isn't gone at 6 o'clock, they start charging you ridiculous fees. So think about this. You were a parent working for Google, right? It gets to be about 5 or 5:30. A couple people still have some stupid questions. There's always stupid questions to answer. Again, not really serious stuff. I'm not saying the server room is on fire. I'm saying just the normal stupid stuff that happens in the office. And so if it's 5:30 and you have somebody come up with some kind of stupid question and you're a parent that has to go get their kid at 6 o'clock, you can go, oh, look, fine. That's a real question. That's a valid question. I don't have time to answer it right now. I tell you what, ping me in the morning and we'll get together and we'll hash out what you need to know, right? Because you got to go. Because if you don't pick your kid up by 6 o'clock, they're going to drop them off at the police station and your kid is going to get all kinds of new amazing lessons you don't want them to have. But think about this. If Google is providing you childcare services and it's 5:30 and you don't have to pick your kid up at 6 and there's no ridiculous fees, and Google sure as hell isn't going to drop the kids off at the police station, well, maybe you can answer a question. And then maybe you can answer another question. And then, hey, again, if there's a beer tap, somebody pours a beer because, it's that time of the day. You go, well, yeah, I am kind of tired right now. Maybe we'll have a beer and maybe we can discuss this. Also, you no longer pick your kid up at 6 or 6:30 or 7, right? And that's all the time that corporation is now consuming you and grabbing all of that value from you. Things to be thinking about, like the asininity of passion. Passion. Are you passionate about your job? I hope to hell not. Again, I like Silicon Dojo. I find Silicon Dojo to be rather fulfilling. Rather fulfilling. I'm not passionate about it. Again, I've got a life. I'm passionate about my chihuahua. I'm passionate about my wife, my house, my art, other things, traveling, hiking, right? A job is a job. A job is what you do to fill up a huge chunk of the day and pay the bills. Really, should you be passionate? Should you be passionate about racking servers? Are you passionate about racking servers? Does Angular make you all hot under the collar? Why? It's a job. I'm not saying anything bad about it. Again, whenever I knock passion, people get so pissed off. Here's the point. When people start talking about passion, right, that puts you into the psychological mentality that you should be passionate about providing a service that is making your boss a metric crap ton of money. And again, and if you're passionate, it's interesting. What are the metrics that you measure how successful you are at your job based off of passion? Right? So if I'm worried about my mortgage, if I'm worried about being able to travel, if I'm worried about my dog and my art and all of these other things, right? I can look at how many hours I work per week. Am I working too many hours so that I don't get to see my puppy dog and my wife? I can look at the money, right? How much money am I bringing in? Am I bringing in enough money to be able to buy another statue? I can look at the fringe benefits, right? My wife has had a number of cancer issues. And do I have enough health care and all that kind of crap in order to pay for my wife's health issues if she has any, right? If you're not passionate about your job, it's very easy to think about these things rather dispassionately. Okay, I can work for this company doing AngularJS and get paid X, Y, and Z, these fringe benefits or the other thing, or I can do React.js, maybe at a different company, and I get more money, have to work less, and get better benefits. Right? If you take passion out of it, again, you can look at it dispassionately. There's other things to look at. Again, do you like the commute? Do you like the office environment? Do you like the culture that you're going to be working within? Do you like the free lunches? Yeah, but dispassionately look at the free lunch. Well, they serve avocado toast, but they serve steak toast. And my wife's vegan. So the only time I get a steak is when I'm not at home. I think I want to order for the company that has steak toast. I'm passionate about my steak toast. Anyways, right? You look at it dispassionately. But if the bosses, if that hierarchy can convince you that you should be passionate, right? It changes so much psychologically. It changes the math in your head about thinking about what you're doing and why you're doing it, right? Because if you think that you're supposed to be passionate about whatever you do, then you're going to do a lot of things that are not necessarily in your best interest because you believe in this whole passion crap, right? Again, it's one of those other things where you see a lot of these startup companies with the whole idea of changing the world. You know, one of the things that I really like, so I have family, I have a Midwestern family, like true Midwestern family. And so my aunt died. My aunt died a couple of years ago. And what was really interesting is so we go to the funeral, and oh my golly, my aunt. Holy hell, I've never seen that many people come to a funeral in my life. It was like, holy crap, that woman knew a lot of people. Anyways, what was very interesting is super Christian and super certain slant of Christianity too. And so anyways, the pastor was up there and giving the eulogy and all that. And of course, as it goes, climate change has to come in there because global warming and my aunt go together like peanut butter and salami. But anyways, you know, again, it's a certain slant of Christianity, so global warming has to go in there. But the interesting part was where he was laughing. He was laughing because I guess he had some conversation with her. And he was laughing about the idea that so many people feel like that they are in control of the world. Like when you have something like global warming, don't go too far with this, but they basically have some global warming that everybody feels like they are individually in control of what is going on, and he was laughing because doesn't everybody know that it's God in charge? Now, I don't agree with a lot of what was saying there, nor do I really agree with the mentality, but I do kind of agree with the slant that this person was going. Where in the modern world, we are sold the lie, to be clear, the lie, that we have so much power to change the world. And don't you want to change the world? Again, and it's to a fetish point. It's to a fetish. I mean, like... Nobody's actually setting up, you know, a decent early childhood education in the inner cities. just pointing that one out. Slide that one across the table. Hey, all you people all you startups changing the world. Yeah, so who's going to provide the early childhood education in the inner cities? Oh, nobody? Because you don't actually care? Anyways, right? But one of the big things to see is in so much of the startup world, so much in the technology world, they fetishize the idea that most of these companies are somehow changing the world and that they are theoretically changing the world for the better. And again, you know, you deal with young people with that hero complex, right? That I'm gonna... And it's really easy to drag people into these organizations and get them to work their asses off in order to change the world. When again, at the end of the day, what they're really doing is just putting money in the owner's bank account. I noticed this, like the most absurd thing. I was up in Stowe, so I went skiing in Stowe. Last time I went snowboarding. And there was this crappy little pizza place in the Stowe Resort. But then like on their wall, it was talking about how they were trying to change the world. I'm like, what, you're trying to change the world by selling overpriced crappy pizza to privileged people? I mean, I guess it can change the world. I'm just not really... You know, maybe if you try to feed the poor people, that might help a little bit more, right? But there's a saying, these mission statements. We are changing the world. What are you doing? We're selling luggage. Luggage is going to change the world. Shoes are going to change the world. We're trying to figure out how to crowdfund lingerie because that'll change the world. And it's like, what? But that's the thing. If you can psychologically manipulate people to such a degree that they feel like they're changing the world, that changes the value proposition in their heads for what they're willing to do. Again, for me doing Silicon Dojo. Right, yes, I could go out and I could get a job, and definitely I could make more than I'm doing on Silicon Dojo right now. But I feel a value here. Again, I feel a fulfillment with what I'm doing. And that's the thing. You trade money. You trade money for certain things. Like when you go to do work, when you go to do a job, you're getting value from multiple different areas. You get value from the actual salary that you get. You get value from the fringe benefits, medical care, vacation, those types of things. You get value from the culture. Do you actually like working with the people? You get value from the physical location of where your office is, right? So if you want to be a cool hipster, you would put value in an office that is downtown, most likely more than something that's out in the suburbs or in the middle of the cornfields or whatever, right? If you feel that you're going to get a lot of experience from doing a job where you can then use that experience to get a better job later, right? That's a value proposition. I will take less money now in order to get more experience. For a lot of people, especially in this time period, they want to feel like they're doing good for the world. And I'm not snarking on that. To be crystal clear, I am not snarking on people wanting to do good for the world. I am snarking on how they go about doing it. And so you have a lot of people, right, that zeal to make the world a better place. And so if you have a startup, some company selling crappy pizzas, overpriced pizzas to rich people in resorts, right? If they can convince you this is somehow changing the world, you'll take that $12 an hour, you'll take the equivalent of crappy pay in the tech world because you feel like you're doing something significant. The significant thing that you're doing is you're padding the CEO's bank account. Right, so there's a lot of this kind of stuff that psychologically goes on in the tech world, and so it's where you really have to look at a lot of things rather dispassionately. Again, it's even things like the whole push that everybody has to go to Silicon Valley. So you have to go to Silicon Valley or Seattle or Austin or whatever else. Realize the people that are manipulating you aren't necessarily people that you realize are manipulating you. There's a whole ecosystem of manipulators out there. So not only the Silicon Valley companies trying to manipulate you, but the politicians are trying to manipulate you. The businesses in the local areas are trying to manipulate you. Venture capitalists are trying to manipulate you. One of the big things with venture capitalists, right? They don't want to travel too far. Again, if you talk with venture capitalists, one of the reasons that Silicon Valley is supposed to be so great for launching your startup is because the venture capitalists are lazy and they don't want to go too far. If they can commute to wherever their startup companies are, that's better for them, right? So you're told, right? You gotta go to X, Y, or Z place in order to be successful in the technology world. And again, one of my big questions with this is that really so? Or have you been sold a load of crap? Again, if you go to San Francisco, now don't get me wrong, if you're actually creating the next Facebook, if you're actually creating the next Google, fine, go to San Francisco. This isn't for you. But you know what I'm saying. If you're like the 5,000th employee at Google, 10,000th employee at Google, and you're doing some database administration essentially, is it actually valuable for you to be in San Francisco? Again, if you go to San Francisco, I was literally just talking to somebody the other day that had just come here from San Francisco. Him and his girlfriend had been renting, and this is real. This is like a month ago, right? He had been renting a 400 square foot efficiency apartment with him and his girlfriend for $2,200 a month. The point that I'm saying here is if you go to some place like Pittsburgh, you can buy a house for $100,000 to $200,000. There are a lot of places in this country where you can buy houses for $200,000, and $200,000 comes out to $1,000 a month mortgage, and everything else included is about $1,000 a month. So you can have a 3-bedroom house in much of the country for basically $1,000 a month, or you can go to San Francisco, where whatever you're making, again, a 400 square foot efficiency apartment is going to cost you $2,200 a month. So again, I'm not talking about the Zuckerbergs, I'm not talking about the Sergey Brins or any of those. I'm talking about the normal technology professional. Are you really that much better off in Silicon Valley, supposedly making all this money, supposedly making $150,000, $200,000 a year, which seems good, except when you look at the expenses, for what it costs to live there, you look at the actual quality of life. Again, one of the reasons I don't want to live there is I think the quality of life is crap. I mean, don't you want to come to... No, I really don't. the quality of life is pretty crap. And so if you compare that to Pittsburgh or Cleveland, I've actually been very impressed with Cleveland. Like they're like these weird towns that I've been impressed with. Cleveland, I like Lincoln, Nebraska, to be honest with you. There's a lot of interesting towns and cities out there where you could get a decent technology job with a pretty good salary. You know, $80,000 a year, but $80,000 a year in a place where you can buy a house for $150,000 a year, when you have nice places to walk, where you don't have homeless people everywhere, because working people can actually afford a freaking house, right? But what you're told again, it's this constant manipulation to get you to move into certain ways, essentially to profit other people. So yes, there's definitely a lot of psychological manipulation when it comes to the technology world, when it comes to Silicon Valley. And I think the most important thing to realize is, whatever your CEO is willing to do to your users, your customers, not really your customers, your users, why do you think they're not doing that to you? Again, really think about it. Like this is where I just don't understand how people don't connect a couple of these dots. When you look at what Facebook is doing to society, and then how Zuckerberg is trying to monopolize things. Everything from Facebook to buying WhatsApp to buying Instagram, tying them on the back end, even though people have specifically told him not to, trying to suss out every bit of privacy he possibly can, trying to destroy Snap, trying to go after TikTok and other things, because he has that massive, monopolistic control thing going on. Are you really a Facebook employee that doesn't imagine the same kind of games are being played towards you? If Mark Zuckerberg does not care about the psychological well-being of 17-year-olds, literal teenagers, why are you so confident about your psychological well-being in a company like that? Again, when we look at these companies and what they're doing, I think it's very interesting. Again, as somebody that looks at it from the outside, I just find it to be very curious how many people have bought the lies. Again, like I say, when we talk about open floor plans, so cool. Yeah, it's cool for the bosses. Again, the major thing. I took a look at the numbers a little while ago. Don't quote me on the numbers, but it was like the major thing that's occurred since when I was a young adult to the new young adults now in the corporate world is the amount of square footage they give per employee has just plummeted. I forget exactly what it was. It was like when I was a young adult in the corporate world, the average employee got something like 200 square feet. 200? Maybe that's not quite right. It's like 180. It wasn't huge, but it was a chunk. Between everything. So you got your cube. It's not a 200 square foot cube, but you got your cube, and then when you look at all the common areas and everything else, it came out maybe it was 180 square feet. 180, 200 square feet. So basically, however many employees you had. So if you had 10 employees, you had 2,000 square feet. If you had 100 employees, 20,000 square feet, something like that. Right? But one of the biggest disruptions over the past 20 years is they've convinced young people that they don't need that much square footage. Don't you want an open floor plan? And the thing is, with open floor plans, they have gone from like that 180 to 200 square foot per employee to sub 100 square foot per employee. Because now, like, if you just have a desk, and then if that desk is shared, you have long rows of shared desks that are now relatively close together. You don't have the cubes anymore. You don't have the hallways like we used to. You get rid of some of the other amenities. But somehow the young people have been convinced this is somehow an improvement. Your boss saving the expense of 100 square foot per employee is a win for the employees. It's like, no, I don't think so. Again, it's like you see the thing with like again with these platforms, these evil platforms. When I talk about the evil of Silicon Valley, when I talk about how diseased these people are, it's not a joke, and it is going to be societally destructive. But when they sell the idea of everybody being a business person, right? So Uber has this idea. Uber sells the lie that essentially their drivers are subcontractors, that they are their own business owners. Now here's the thing. I've dealt with subcontractors for years. I have been a subcontractor, and the important thing to understand is, as a subcontractor in the real world, not in the psychological, the fever dream that Silicon Valley has. A real subcontractor can have a real business. Now, a real subcontractor may be one individual person running around. They may not want to grow. But a subcontractor, depending on what's happening, may have lots of employees. You can have a company that may have 100+ employees, and they essentially subcontract for everybody else. I think about this in the cabling world, right? So if I needed specialized cabling run, so fiber cabling run, surveillance cabling run, whatever else, right? So I had my little computer repair shop. So let's say I had a facility or I needed a lot of cabling run. What I could do is I could go to my customer and I could say, look, I'm going to bill you $150 per run. So every single cable run from point A to point B, I'm going to bill you $150. Then what I do is I go to the subcontracting firm and I say, I will pay you $50 per run to run all these cables from point A to point B. And the subcontractors would do this. And you say, oh, well, you're screwing over the subcontractors. No, but think about this. The subcontractors, they didn't have to do any advertising for the work. The subcontractors don't have to deal with any customer support as long as they run the crap from point A to point B. That's done. The subcontractors can entirely focus on basically doing one thing. All they do is running cables. So if you have a subcontracting firm where all you do is run cables, you can make enough money from that $50 per run to hire employees, to buy more vehicles, to hire a secretary, to have your own facility. You may not have a company that's a household name or anybody in your area even knows exists, but all the tech firms or whatever who need cabling run, they'll know that you exist, and they'll come to you like Black Box. I don't know, are they still around? Back when I was doing building out the sites for one of the corporations I worked with, we subcontracted Black Box, right? So Black Box would come in, and all they would do, they would just run cable from point A to point B, right? That is a real subcontracting company. Again, Black Box became a national company, and they charge you through the nose. They were not running cable for $50 a run. But anyways, they became a national company with lots and lots of employees and but again, no normal person would ever go to Black Box. The problem is now is like when you have Uber, when you have Lyft, when you have all of these other platform companies spinning the lie that you are going to be your own business owner. Okay. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. You explain this to me. You explain to me the math, where an Uber driver is ever going to be able to purchase a second vehicle and then hire their own employee as a driver in order to complete the Uber contracts. Have you ever thought, like, at what point can you just even consider a point in time where somebody would create a Lyft subcontracting company, that they have been so successful at Lyft that they start buying multiple vehicles, and then they have drivers who are completing Lyft drives, but instead of getting paid directly from Lyft, those drivers are now getting paid from the person that created the subcontracting company. Or it's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Again, a lot of the people that are driving Uber, many of them are barely even making minimum frickin' wage. Much less trying to figure out how to buy the second, third, fifth vehicle and basically hire employees in the whole 9 yards, right? And so these are a lot of the kind of things that Silicon Valley, the tech world, are doing to psychologically manipulate everybody. And it's to all of our detriments. It's making the world a worse place. Basically, they are making billions and trillions of dollars off of destroying the modern world. Yep. I'm sorry. It's true, though. It's true. This is why people don't like you anymore, Eli. You should be talking about bezels. You should be talking about bezels, not how Silicon Valley is destroying the modern world. That'd be ridiculous here. So yeah. Some things to be thinking about there. Some things to be thinking about. Some things to be considering. Go into everything you deal with your boss. Again, that's the whole thing. Like, it's weird. Like, it's weird when I try to talk about this kind of stuff to people, because I think they miss what I'm trying to say a lot of times. Look, bosses are people. Bosses are people too, and so you should treat bosses like people. But you should also treat them like people. You know what I'm saying? Bosses have feelings. Bosses have feelings. Bosses have frustrations. Bosses have fears. Bosses have work that they need to get accomplished. Bosses get measured off of some metrics, even if you may not realize what they are. So again, I would recommend that you be as nice as possible to your boss and try to help your boss out. On the other hand, do so dispassionately. Do so dispassionately. I'm not saying to help your boss out by working 24 hours a day, 5 days in a row. I'm saying help your boss out by asking your boss, what certification the company needs. Ask your boss, is there a better way that you could be using your time, your 8 hours of time when you're at work? Right? Because that's the thing. When I say bosses are human and I say try to be nicer to your boss, people think what I'm saying is that you need to work 16 hours a day. No. There's a difference between rolling over and pissing yourself and acquiescing to your boss and working 16 hours a day because you're passionate about changing the world because you're selling pizzas to rich people. There's a difference between that versus going to your boss and saying, okay, I'm going to be here for 8 hours. I'm going to be here for 8 hours, then I'm going to go home to see my wife. So when I'm here for 8 hours, I just want to verify that the work that I'm doing is the best use of my time. And I think if you start thinking about things a little bit more like that, I don't know. I would argue life gets a hell of a lot easier. So anyhow. Those are my thoughts today. That got depressing. Silicon Valley is depressing. It's so funny. It's so funny. Like I was reading this. I just got finished with a book. So I've gotten off of social media. I've literally gotten off of social media. I'm so happy. I'm reading books now. I'm reading so many books now. And I just got done with this book, and it was talking about the railroad. So during the Gilded Age, and you had the robber barons with the railroads, and you just look at what the railroads actually were doing. So much of what the railroads were doing just they were greedy bastards. They were greedy fucks. They were evil. But it just built so much. I feel like so much of what's happening now in Silicon Valley is where I feel like what happened before, again, you need to share more money. You need to share more of the fruits of the labor and all that. But so much was about wealth creation, right? The railroad comes in, you build a city, you have mines, you have factories, you have farms. All of this gets built up around the railroad. The railroad then takes a stupidly exorbitant fee in order to transport the goods from point A to point B. But that from the growth, they were taking more than their share from the wealth creation that was being created. So much of what I feel like is going on in Silicon Valley and so much of what we're seeing now in modern society is wealth extraction. Again, how can I make somebody so successful that they're buying multiple lift vehicles and they're bringing more and more people on, and then I can take a larger slice of that? That seems like the old way. The new way is, how can I convince people to put themselves into debt to buy a vehicle so we don't have to put this as a liability on our books, and then we are going to drive the prices down to such a degree that the people that have then purchased these vehicles are basically stuck going nowhere. It's extractive. What we're seeing now in our modern world is a very extractive concept around industrialization and capitalism. It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing. Anywho. So anyways, those are my thoughts. Those are some examples and some things to be thinking about with how you were psychologically manipulated. So be careful with that. If you want me to answer one of your questions, hopefully a happier question, put your questions down in the comment section down below. Again, like I say, I do these videos about every day, so I'll probably get to your question at some point. If you'd like to support Silicon Dojo, a non-extractive business, almost not a business. Still, I'm making money. We are in the black. Anyways, if you would like to support this, there is a link down below, donorbox.org/ETCG. If you would like to throw a couple of dollars in, that would be oh so wonderful. Beyond that, we do try to do seminars here at the Silicon Dojo office once a week. So if you want to sign up for those, you can go to silicondojo.com. On the right-hand side, there's a little link. Sign up for the meetup and show up to one of the meetups that we're having. And I also do one-on-one conversations with people. So again, if you go to silicondojo.com, on the right-hand side, there's a thing for the one-on-one conversations. Click on that. If you want to come, we can talk about your career. We can talk about your education. We can talk about how to start a business. We can talk about a lot of different things that I've talked with a lot of different people about. So just that is here, though. You do have to come here. So go to silicondojo.com and click on that link if that's what you want to do. And with that, I will call it a day. I'll see you folks at the next video, and hopefully here in Asheville, North Carolina.